WWE Crown Jewel 2025, Crown Jewel Perth, I should say, is in the books, and it's been in the books for a while. This sucker aired at 5 a.m. in the morning for me here in California. I slept through the entire show. It did not even start the show until probably about an hour after it had concluded. So I spent the afternoon kind of getting caught up on that, and here we are to review WWE Crown Jewel, and I gotta say, they really bounced back strong. This is what I said they would do in my predictions. WWE was so butthurt about the very, very honest C average grade that WrestlePalooza got because they rushed everything to get the ESPN launch done for the sole purpose of counter-programming AEW. They made all these promises, and they delivered a very, very basic, average, and pretty boring show, and then got upset when ESPN was a little bit honest about that. And one of the things I said in my WrestlePalooza review, plus what I said in the predictions here for Crown Jewel, is that all you got to do is do better on the next one. And Crown Jewel, even though it's one of those classic Triple H 5-match cards, it looked good on paper. And I said that 2 or 3 times repeatedly throughout the last couple of weeks on podcasts that even though those Crown Jewel championships mean absolutely nothing to me whatsoever, I've never cared about a championship less than I do about those Crown Jewel championships. I care more about the 24/7 title than I do those fucking things. And both Crown Jewel matches, at least in my estimation, were relatively predictable. And I still thought, despite all of that, that WWE was going to deliver a good show tonight. Or today in Australia. And they did. They bounced right back, exactly like I said they would do. And instead of focusing and hyper-focusing on your last one, just move on to the next one and do better. That's the thing about pay-per-views. You have one every 3 or 4 weeks, so if you shit the bed on one, it's not going to take you long for you to get another opportunity to make that right. And that's what happened to WWE here tonight. I still wish some of these pay-per-views had a little more wrestling, a few more matches, and maybe a few less commercials and advertisements and so much filler in between. I mean, 5 matches, 3.5 hours is ridiculous. You should theoretically be able to bust this out in 2 hours. But there's so much filler on a WWE show, so many needless video packages and WWE stroking themselves off and these long, extremely long entrances and intros and all this other stuff. You know, you don't have a whole lot of wrestling here, but for a 5-match card, I believe that every match delivered here. There really wasn't a stinker on the whole show. Maybe the weakest match was the women's tag, but that's only because it was somewhat short and sweet, but it wasn't even a bad match. All 4 of those women are pros. Ripley and Io and Asuka and Kairi, they can all go, and it was a good match. So even though that was probably the weakest match on the card for the day, it was still a good match. So in terms of Crown Jewel, it was predictable. By the way, I did go perfect in my predictions. Not much of a brag there. It's only 5 matches, and I even said in my predictions that I felt very, very confident about going perfect. So with the matches being somewhat predictable, you know, I would be inclined not to give this show a great grade, but I think what really helped this was the John Cena and AJ Styles match, and then just the overall quality of all the matches. The John Cena and AJ Styles match was really, really special, and I'm glad I got a chance to watch that in its entirety, and I think that's really what's going to put this, you know, pay-per-view over the top in terms of being a better than average show. So ESPN has already dropped their grade on the show. Andreas Hale, the same guy that gave it a C grade for WrestlePalooza, here's what he said about Crown Jewel today. A show that stumbled out of the gate with a relatively tame street fight and a far too brief fight between women's champions was rescued by an absolutely stellar match between John Cena and AJ Styles that put an excellent bookend to their rivalry. Rollins finally getting his comeuppance against Rhodes by any means necessary, and the women's tag match were both strong and anchored a memorable bounce back for WWE after a middling WrestlePalooza. So I feel like that's a fair grade. You know, I'd probably concur with a B or a B+. I think the strength of that John Cena and AJ match kind of makes me want to give it an A, to be honest, because I really, really, really enjoyed that. But, you know, makes a point about the women's matches. Stephanie and Tiffany was also pretty short, but again, not bad. And the finish there, when Stephanie hit her corkscrew splash thing, she landed right on Tiffany. Ouch. But I didn't even think that match was that bad. But yeah, it was a little bit short. But Overall, I'm pretty happy with what we got on Crown Jewel. And when I think about how I thought this show would go in my predictions and leading up to the show, kind of went exactly like I thought. So let me know what you guys think in the chat here. By the way, welcome to your WWE Crown Jewel 2025 review. We will be here to review the show. I'm going to mention a couple of tidbits about last night's SmackDown, and we will talk about those WWE releases in just a second. Just want to make sure I can be seen and heard. All right, we're looking good. We had a little bit of a mishap last night. I've got to do some repairs behind me. My shelf collapsed. The bottom shelf, one of the brackets I noticed was loose, and I was like, oh, I must not have had that drilled into a stud because I was going pretty fast. By the time I got to the last one, I probably wasn't paying attention, so it started coming loose. And so I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm just going to re-drill the bracket in there to hold up the shelf, but I must be behind a metal restrictor plate or protection plate or something because I cannot get a screw anywhere through the stud down there. So I'm going to have to find a different solution, but I propped up a piece of wood in the meantime and a couple of like little books to hold the shelf up, and I'm going to run over to Home Depot tomorrow, probably get a couple of pieces of wood to just kind of build a couple of supports coming down from the floor to secure that. So the shelf collapsed on me last night, and I had to kind of scramble to get it up back here behind me and lighten the weight. I had some heavier stuff up back there, so I lightened the weight on it a little bit, and I got to do a little bit more maintenance back there as we go. But we're here today. No wingy this week, nor normal podcast. We are just going to be reviewing Crown Jewel, and then I'm going to head off to work. Now, what you guys can expect from me the next couple of days, unfortunately, no watch-along tomorrow. Tomorrow night is Lions and Chiefs. All my family is from Detroit, and then my sister has married into a Chiefs family. So she is now on their team. I am still on Detroit's team. So we're going to have a nice family feud tomorrow for the Sunday night game. So I will be skipping the classic watch-along tomorrow evening, but we will be here on Monday night after Raw. Now, Raw is going to be taped very, very early. So we're going to know the results. So I'll come up here on Monday and give you some sort of a review on it because there might be more to talk about. We might have some more wrestling news by the time we get to Monday as well. So, and I guess now we're going to start setting the stage for Survivor Series, which is the next PLE, correct? And that's going to be here in San Diego. I'll be there, going with a couple of listeners, and if any of you guys are going to be in San Diego, please hit us up. We will hang out, but I guess they're going to start building that now, and I think there might even be a Saturday night. Is there an extra Saturday night's main event stuck in there? Did I hear that from Dave this week, that there's like a Saturday night's main event in early November, in addition to the one in December with Cena's last match? So sounds like we're just going to be building to Survivor Series because there's nothing else, right? There's no other PLE. There's no Halloween Havoc or nothing like that coming from WWE. So we got a long time. We have, I don't know, six to 8 weeks, I guess, or 6-7 weeks to build for Survivor Series, which is at the end of November. So we will see what they start doing on Raw, how many people are going to be on the show, if we're going to see Roman, if we're going to see Cody, anybody like that, or if Roman is going to bounce until the beginning of the year, because as we saw tonight on the show, he told the Usos that he doesn't want to see them until Christmas. So I don't know what that means for Roman in terms of Survivor Series and War Games, and if he's going to be a part of that or not, or if Roman is going on another one of his long vacations. We will find out. Let me say hi to everybody here in the chat while we're getting cooking here. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button for me if you don't mind. You guys all know where the subscribe button is. All super chats will be answered as usual. And I hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Good to see Joshua Aparicio in here. Just want to see John Cena do a shooting star press in honor of Billy Kidman. Yeah, if Cena does that, he might be risking his movie career as well as his wrestling career. Melissa Hernandez, good to see you. We've got Colin Wright, Tatanani, and Joe Brill. And Colin is dropping in $5 for us. Thank you for that, my friend. A great pay-per-view. I find it funny with the crowd at the scrum chanting, and I quote, "Fuck off Saudi, we want Mania" at Triple H. They were chanting a lot of things. They also were singing Edge's theme song. So I put this on social media today. It's only a matter of time. We already saw during SummerSlam when they rehired Brock, they decided that they're no longer going to do media scrums. Why are they no longer going to do media scrums? Because they don't want to be asked or be forced to answer any question that might be difficult for them. Can't have that, can we? Biggest fucking snowflakes alive, WWE. Absolute bitches. Can't even handle answering some questions from some fucking YouTubers. Too scared to do that. Now they're doing their own version of a post show, and now they got fans behind them. Well, the fans are getting more vocal and more vocal, and they chanted a bunch of stuff while Triple H was talking, and I can see them taking the next step of now doing post shows with no fans, because we must be allowed to stroke ourselves off without any distractions. Triple H needs to be free to say, what we do, this is what we do. He's got to be free to say that without fans screaming behind him. So I wouldn't be surprised at all, at all, if they just stop doing these in front of fans. Like, if maybe not in the next one, but like if this starts to become a trend, because you know how the American audience likes to mimic everything they see in other countries, because that's how original we are. So they're already mimicking the singing and the chants that they do in Europe. So now if they're seeing what they did in Australia here with this scrum, and they start doing that more and more, and fans start chanting more stuff, holding up signs, being more vocal during these post shows with fans, they're going to cut that out too. They're not going to do anything that makes them uncomfortable or anything that's going to be too hard for them. I bet you $100 they will do that if that continues to get worse. Or they'll figure out a way to drown them out audio-wise. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do there. But the fans were fun during the post-show, and I believe in addition to singing Metalingus, also saying, fuck Saudi, we want Mania. When Rhea Ripley was up there, they were calling Asuka, I think, a shit cunt. A shit C word. And Asuka is a shit cunt. Something like that. I don't know what the hell they were chanting. And Ripley was just like laughing her ass off. She goes, this is my country. This is what we do over here. So that was fun. Sounds like the fans had a lot of fun during the post show. And I'm glad that they were, I hope anyway, that they were really, really annoying Triple H. I hope that he was annoyed to no end there. Because that's what he deserves, man. But anyway, who else is here? William Cullen. We got DJWK. Love from England. Good to see you, man. Thanks for being here. Mike Rouse in the house. We got Ricky Zalvadar, Steve Jacobson, Gilbert Arbalo is here. DJG. We've got... lost my place again. Son of a bitch. Oh, I really lost my place. There we go. Now we're back. Good to see David Brown in the house. Jay Lambo chiming in with $5 for us. What a match. Styles versus Cena, an easy 10 out of 10 for me. You know, I was worried that in this stage of their careers that maybe they were running a risk of not living up to their previous matches. But, you know, AJ is the closest thing we've seen to a Shawn Michaels. And Shawn up and, you know, except for that Saudi match at the end when he came out of retirement, everything he did, no matter what age he was tremendous. And I had confidence in Cena and AJ to deliver here, and I think they do not have a less than 4-star match out of every time they've faced. Would I be right about that? I don't care what Dave says. What do you guys say in your head? If you look at all of the matches that Cena and AJ has had, I believe this was the 5th, right? I think it's 2-2. 2 wins for AJ, 2 wins for Cena. This is the 5th match. Of those 5 matches, wouldn't you rate them all a 4-star or better? I kind of feel like I would. 3 3/4 stars at the very least, but I'm thinking 4 stars or better are what Cena and AJ matches are, and tonight was no different. It was really, really special. Can't wait to talk about that one in a minute once I'm done throwing pens around. Good to see Denny Downbad here as well. We've got Surge in the house. Isaac is here as well. Good to see T85. You guys are all giving it B's, B-, a couple of A's from David and Jay Lambo. And yeah, and I'm going to go, if I were to grade it in A, it would be solely on the strength of Cena and AJ. You know, just because that match is one that I think that when it comes to Cena's retirement, that one tonight is going to stick out. You know, and when you see a match that good between Cena and AJ, it almost makes you mad that they wasted so many months of John Cena's heel turn, or John Cena's retirement run with that stupid heel turn. And we just had a couple of months of shit, and now we're getting all these great matches, and he's tributing all of his former rivals, and it's so special and wonderful and heartwarming, and I feel like we could have gotten more of this. We could have had more of this all year instead of just this condensed version in the fall leading up to December when he hangs it up for good. So I kind of wish we had more of what we had here tonight all year long. Let's see. Ben Espinoza, I think I got you. William Cullen, appreciate the $2. Yes, T85. We are going to talk about the WWE releases in just a second. Who else is here? Victor Cologne, good to see you. Ryan Adams in the house. Clone Force, how are you, man? And good to see you. How am I liking my new home? Loving it, man. Happy to be here. Smaller, better part of town. Love living over here. It's awesome. Got my windows open. Neighbors out there walking the dogs. Fun stuff. It's a good spot. Thank you, Clone Force, for asking. I appreciate it. Let's see who else. Shell Shock is here as well. Doug Unfunny, Prince Tommy, Delayed Gratz, and Daniel Berry Sports. Anybody else that's chiming in, thank you for being here. Welcome to your Crown Jewel review. And before we get into Crown Jewel, I just want to mention a couple of little things first. We're not going to run through a review of SmackDown last night, but I do want to talk about a couple of things that we saw on SmackDown last night that I thought were interesting. But before we do that, let's talk about, unfortunately, yesterday we had a pretty sizable batch of WWE releases. Now, let me know if I'm missing anybody. This is mostly NXT talent and developmental talent, and I only knew who I think like 3 of these people were. Number one, the biggest one, was Wes Lee. Now, he's a former North American champion. I think he's even a former NXT Tag Team champion, right? Just an unbelievable talent. Sad to see him go. It's a bummer. Like, when I see Wes Lee, I see, I see Nathan Frazier. I see Carmelo Hayes. He's tremendous. Like, why wouldn't you want to keep this guy? AEW's got a bunch of him, too. They've got your Kevin Knights. They've got your, AR Foxes. Pack, guys like that. And there's a lot of these, super athletic guys now, but Wes Lee was one that I would have tried to keep or stick in a tag team or something. So I don't know what the story is there. We'll see if he turns up maybe in AEW or anywhere else. Best of luck to Wes Lee. He was pretty much the biggest one. Also, WWE released Lance Anoa'i. So another bloodline family member there. Things did not work out. He posted on social media yesterday saying that his time came to an end and he did not have very good luck in WWE. I'm not really sure why. I don't know what went well or right or wrong for him over there. But Lance is gone. So is Stevie Turner, Jin Tala, Draco or Draco Knox, have no idea who that is. Hayes Jameson, I forgot about Hayes Jameson. I think when it's a she, right? I don't even know if Hayes Jameson is a male or female, but I remember when I saw the name Hayes Jameson for the first time, I think it was when WWE filed a trademark for it. I just laughed. I'm like, what the Hayes Jameson? Sounds so funny. Anyway, Hayes Jameson is gone. Summer Sorrell. Again, Summer and Hayes, I have no idea, or male or female. Braden, BJ Ray, and Jamar Hampton. So best of luck to all this released talent. I have no clue who any of them are other than Wes Lee and Lance. And that's it. Wes Lee and Lance are the only ones I have any recollection of whatsoever. But best to everyone. WWE signs a lot of recruits. They bring a lot of developmental talent in. They can't all work out. So these releases shouldn't be anything that should upset fans or should make WWE come off as, assholes. These are pretty typical releases, and, it's the way it is. It's the way the business is. Best of luck to everybody who has been let go, and maybe one day they can find their way back to WWE. So, yeah, we had some releases yesterday, and then last night on SmackDown, pretty interesting show because we had a couple of cool things happen. We had the long, boring, and pointless Cody Rhodes promo last night. That's when I always knew Seth was going to win this, but when I was listening to Cody speak last night, I'm like, Cody, what's your point here, what's your point? So get to the point. I don't think he ever did. And I'm happy that Cody lost tonight. He should have. So the Cody promo last night was pretty pointless. Also, we had another interesting U.S. Open challenge by Sami Zayn. This time, his challenge was answered by Shinsuke Nakamura, who the two of them did have a banger of an NXT TakeOver match, 10 years ago or so. And this one was pretty solid. This was actually a solid match. I had no problem with this at all, even though Nakamura maybe is an interesting choice. These two have a lot of history. And they also have history from the artist collective thing or whatever the fuck that was that I barely remember. And also, Nakamura came back out to his old theme. So there was a story going around where some wrestlers were kind of requesting to get their old themes back. I'm not really sure who that entails, but I know Nakamura was using a different theme, and he even had, he was wearing more darker colors, kind of wearing like all black. He's back kind of to more of his original look here, and loved his gear last night. And him and Sami Zayn had a pretty damn good match for the United States Championship, but we did not get a winner in that because the MFTs attacked, surrounded the ring, and destroyed Sami Zayn. Nakamura got the hell out of there, but the first one to show up was Tama Tonga, and he was wearing the face paint. So they're back to wearing the face paint that they wore in New Japan as the Gorillas of Destiny. And a lot of it is the face paint is the same, especially on Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga, using the exact same face paint that they were using in Japan. I don't know if this is legal or what or whatever, but the MFTs have basically morphed into the Gorillas of Destiny, and a lot of fans have wanted them to put the face paint on ever since they debuted. I remember when Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa first showed up, I remember hearing people say, like, they look weird without the face paint or whatever. Like, they should do that. And they were really, it felt like WWE was attempting last night to establish them as a really, really big deal and a force to be reckoned with, because they beat the absolute hell out of Sami Zayn. And then they showed up later after the Wyatt Six scored their victory and had a big face-off. And that was really cool. After the Wyatt Six won, they're posing. They're doing their group pose in the ring. And then from behind, and of course you got their, it's not, the lights aren't up. You got the Wyatt Six dark lights. And then you have all the members of the MFTs with the face paint, Gorillas of Destiny hopping up on the apron. And it was just a cool visual to see the Wyatt Six, who are already a creepy and scary looking unit, now being surrounded by this army of freaks. It was cool. And so they had a big face-off in the ring with the strobe lights going, and this is awesome chance. I really, really like that, to be honest. So MFTs and Wyatt Six look like they are headed for a showdown for those tag team titles. And the only other thing I want to mention about SmackDown last night was the main event. The main event was a last man standing match between Aleister Black and Damian Priest. And this was another good match. This is really good. I actually kind of like this better than the street fight tonight with Roman and Bronson. But Aleister and Priest brawl into the crowd. They find themselves up on this platform. And I guess Priest is going to annihilate Aleister Black when Zelina Vega, Priest's friend, Zelina Vega, shows up and stands in front of Aleister Black, who is her real-life either husband or fiance or something, right? They've been together a long time, many, many years, I suppose. And the announcers didn't really acknowledge that that's the wife of Aleister Black. They didn't say that. But she stood there, gets in front of Black to prevent him from being annihilated, and Priest is demanding that Zelina Vega gets out of the way. Finally, she gets out of the way, and Black pulls out a fireball into Priest's face, and it was executed pretty well. Fireballs are hard to do. You got about a 20% at best success rate with those, and he hit Priest right in the face. I don't remember the last time we've seen a wrestling fireball. There's got to be one in the last couple of years in AEW or something, right? Or maybe even WWE, but I can't remember the last time I've seen flash paper go up in somebody's face. It's been a while. Probably happened 6 months ago and I've already forgotten. You're like, oh, Greg, happened at SummerSlam, you dumbass. But I don't remember seeing a fireball for a long time. So Priest gets hit in the face with a fireball, which was badass. Then Aleister hits the black mass to Priest, who then flies off the platform through a table, and then the 10 gets counted to 10 and loses the match. And it appears that they have now paired up Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, a real-life couple, and I love that. I think, I always liked Zelina with Andrade. I thought they were great together, but when Andrade came back to WWE, we were saying they should put them back together, and they never did. Now Andrade's gone again. He's back in AEW. Zelina Vega, put her with Aleister Black. I think they would look great together. She comes out, wearing some sexy gothic shit and making her entrance with him. That's going to look pretty good. They should look pretty good together. So I like that. I think that's great. Zelina, she did seem like there wasn't like a little smirk and a hug with Alistair, like she planned this all along. She almost looks like her character is still a little bit conflicted, but here she's grabbing, she was holding Alistair Black, so I'm sure they're going to reference the relationship, but it felt like it was impromptu from her character's perspective. She just ran out there. It wasn't planned, and then she helped Alistair win, and now she's just going to be with him. So she's kind of looking down at Priest like, oh my God, what have I done? This is my friend, but this is my husband, so my loyalty is with him, I guess, is kind of what they were telling there. But I think the two of them are going to look good together, and I'm happy that they are now together. Good for them. So SmackDown was interesting with the the MFTs going back to the paint, and the Black and Zelina Vega and Damian Priest stuff I thought was pretty good. The rest of SmackDown was just what it was. I watched a little bit of it, but I didn't watch all of it because I was busy watching the fucking Tigers lose. I knew they would, Game 5, elimination game, 15 innings last night. I'm watching the whole thing at work, and I think the Tigers are going to lose the game like 3 or 4 times because they're just stranded, like in the 11th inning, 12th inning, I think even 13th inning. They were leaving men on in every inning. I think even the 12th, they had bases loaded, came up empty. And so I'm like, you can't strand all these dudes and expect to win. But Seattle wasn't doing nothing either. So finally, I'm like closing up at work. I'm finally finishing. The game is still on. And I'm like, it's the top of the 15th. So I drove home with the game on in my car and watched them lose in my car. So way to go, Tigers. The 41-year drought now. I was 7 years old when they won the World Series back in 1984. So it's been a while. It's been a while since they have won, but I wasn't even aware that the Tigers were even good until like 2 months ago. So that's the cool thing about this YouTube channel. It's kind of made me not give a shit about sports. So even though my home team lost last night, I didn't lose a wink of sleep. I don't care. Just would have been nice if I could celebrate with Detroit, but it was not to be. So anyway, congrats to the Mariners, and now it's going to be Seattle and Toronto, I guess. So what's the Final Four? Seattle, Toronto, and who's on the other side? I don't even know. I have no idea who the other teams are. Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's move on to Crown Jewel results. As we said in our predictions last Tuesday when we were here doing the triple review for Monday Night Raw, and then we had the head-to-head matchup between NXT and AEW. Incidentally, NXT did win in the ratings as I predicted they would, but they won by a little more than I thought. I think AEW was only in the 300,000s moving nights, and then NXT was hovering around the 600,000. So they might have taken a small dip NXT, but they still handily defeated AEW ratings-wise. Even though I think I enjoyed Title Tuesday more between the two shows, NXT did pick up the win in the ratings battle there, but the only people who gives a shit about ratings are tribal people. Nobody else does. All right, so let's move on to Crown Jewel results, and we're going to start with the match that I said would open up the show, Australian Street Fight. Big Bronson Reed taking on Roman Reigns, and I said this is a match that Reed needs to win because the way they set this up on Raw, it was looking like it was going to be Roman and Breakker. And so I started plotting out the scenario for Roman and Breakker because I feel like if Roman and Breakker are going to face this early, you absolutely have to have Roman Reigns win, and then Breakker could win the rematch down the line, hopefully for a championship. That's what I was expecting them to do based on the attack that Roman put on Braun Breakker when he returned a couple of weeks ago. Plus, he's already fought Bronson Reed and beat him. But Crown Jewel is in Perth, and last week on Raw, they set up Reed and Roman, not Breakker and Roman, and they made it a street fight. So once you put all that together, it's going to be Bronson Reed facing Roman for the second time now, and it's not a straight-up match, it's a stipulation match, and it's in Bronson Reed's hometown. This is one of those times where when the fans say, Roman should lose, they're right. He should lose this time. This is absolutely a scenario. Now, if he would have faced Breakker, I would have said Roman needs to win here, lose to Breakker later. But Roman already beat Bronson Reed. Why bring Bronson into his home country, a member of this faction, and then beat him? What does that do for him? Does nothing for him. And a loss won't harm Roman at all, but a loss might harm Bronson Reed a little bit more. So you got yourself all perfectly set up here. You got a stipulation match. You can have interference and all that stuff, and you can have Bronson Reed pick up the win. And that's what they did. Now, I agree with Andreas Hale's take of this match. It was relatively tame. You know, I'm not a big fan of street fights in general, especially street fights with a name. Like, it doesn't matter what city or country you put in front of the street fight. It's still the same shit. It's still the kendo sticks. You know, maybe there's a kangaroo crossing sign out there instead of a stop sign. Well, actually, there was a stop sign, I think, in this match. So in terms of like the weapons being used, it's all very, very typical, you know, and nothing set this apart. You know, where like Bronson Reed pulling out a fucking lizard or some indigenous species of Australia and it bites Roman Reigns and he's bloody. Like something crazy, like something just nuts. Hit him in the face with a fucking surfboard. Have one of Steve or the Crocodile Hunter's kids hop the barricade and nail Roman or something. Give me a little blood. Give me something here. But they didn't. It was a relatively run-of-the-mill street fight with your typical chair spots and bumps on the outside and barricade stuff and all that. You know, just very, very, very typical. And Roman then is circling the ring. He's about to come running around, I guess, probably to either spear or Superman punch Bronson Reed. And that's when Braun Breaker hops the barricade and intercepts Roman Reigns and takes him out with a spear. So that's when the Usos music hit, because now Reed and Breaker basically have a 2-on-1 situation against Roman. So the Usos come out, but they both get taken out by Braun Breaker. So they eventually start running them off, but they get the upper hand. I think one of the Usos goes through the barricade, of course. So Breaker basically takes out both of them. And then Jey Uso recovers to get back in the ring to help out Roman Reigns, and he winds up accidentally spearing Roman Reigns through the table that was bridged up or leaning up against the turnbuckle. So he spears cousin Roman through the table. Jey gets taken out, and then Breaker pulls Roman into the middle of the ring, allowing Bronson Reed to go to the top rope and hit the tsunami and pin Roman Reigns for the win. The absolute right finish to do there. This would have been one of those situations where I would have been really kind of bummed out if Roman got the win. It was unnecessary. This can do so much for Reed. This is the exact type of win that he needs. And many fans maybe thought he should have gotten in the last one, even though I said he wouldn't. I'm like, he stole a man's shoes. He ain't going to win this time. I predicted Roman to win at Clash in Paris. I did not predict him to win here. He needed to lose. He went down, and I loved it. Bronson Reed looked like a stud, and he got the big win over Roman Reigns. When the match was over, Roman is laying in the ring with both of his cousins, Jimmy and Jey, and he's angry at them. And he says, the whole world thinks I can't do shit on my own. And he goes, I love y'all, but I don't want to see you until Christmas. So he's put a time limit. He's already decided while he's still in the ring selling his injuries, he's already decided how long it's going to take him to get over what happened. It's going to take until Christmas. And he might not buy the Usos very nice presents for what they did to him here. And it does make you wonder what this means for War Games. Because I was hoping that Roman is coming here to San Diego to see me. We're going to go out and, you know, running around downtown, having beers, chasing horse, things like that. Me and Roman, we got this big weekend planned, Survivor Series weekend, just me and him. A little buddy time, a little QT quality time with me and Roman. And now, based on him telling the Usos, I'll see you at Christmas, I'm not sure if he's going to come to San Diego. Okay, fine, don't come, whatever. So I don't know what this means for War Games. I mean, we've all been under the assumption, right, that it's going to have to be the Vision versus somebody. Dave had an interesting kind of report on this week as well. I don't have anything written down. I'm going by memory here. But he had said something along the lines of the plans for War Games was going to be the Vision along with Brock Lesnar, along with Austin Theory. Now, is Austin Theory currently like a champion in Evolve or something? Is that what he's doing? I saw a video of Heyman introducing him or something like that. So that's starting to check out, actually, that maybe Theory could be coming back to TV and he could be brought into the Vision. Sounds like WWE still wants to try to make it work with him. He was Vince McMahon's pet project, and that was, you know, pretty much the kiss of death for him. I think that that really hurt him, Vince doing that. And a lot of the fans didn't really like him, you know, seemed just a little off, you know, lacked charisma and seemed like a little prick. But he's been, you know, waiting to come back to TV here. And if they bring him into the Vision, and that's going to be your team. It's going to be Bronson, Breakker, Rollins, Theory, and Brock against who? Cody? Cena? Maybe Roman? Maybe the Usos? LA Knight, CM Punk? So maybe what? CM Punk, LA Knight, Cody, or maybe not Cody. It might just be Punk, Knight, the Usos, and then either Cena or Roman or something like that. I don't know. So that's probably what War Games is going to be. I can't imagine War Games being anything else. It's not going to be like Wyatt Six and MFTs, right? It's going to be the Vision. It's going to be, the big angle on Raw is what we're going to see at War Games. But I am a little bit concerned about what that means now for Roman Reigns. Oh, Theory still... I thought Theory was all right. I thought Theory was getting better. So he's still hurt? Oh, okay. That video of Theory was from years ago? Oh, it looks so new to me. It looked so new to me. I just was scrolling through it. I didn't even care to stop on it, but I thought that was something that he was maybe doing right now. That was years ago? Holy crap. Okay. Dave says the plan is for Dom versus Cena at Survivor Series, but who knows? I actually am fine with that. Since I'm going to Survivor Series and I'm going to be in attendance for John Cena's second to last appearance ever, I would like a one-on-one match. I wouldn't mind that. So Dominic would be a great opponent. It would be even more awesome if it was for the championships. What if John Cena won the AAA Mega Championship and the Intercontinental Championship? He's never won either of those, right? John Cena is not, there's not some Intercontinental title run that I'm forgetting somewhere with John Cena. He's never won that title, right? So if he faces Dom and wins the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series, that would be awesome. Then what, he drops it to Gunther at Saturday night's main event? John Cena goes into that match as IC champ? Probably unlikely. So if Cena does face Dom, it's either got to be non-title or, Cena's got to win, and I think both will be the case. So, interesting. There you go, Clone Force. Take out Theory, put in Drew. But Drew is over on SmackDown. Not that you can't have SmackDown people in there, but, what... him joining the Vision, maybe, I don't know. Or at least joining up with them. I mean, imagine that team. Imagine if it was Drew and Brock on the same War Games side, after their Performance Center WrestleMania main event. Could be Drew. Yeah, well, hopefully everything is all right with Austin Theory and his injury gets healed, and he's back on TV soon, and we might see him join the Vision. But War Games, right now, it's kind of hard to tell what exactly they're going to do for War Games, and they might start setting that in motion this Monday on Raw at 5 o'clock in the morning for me. Anyway, all right, so next matchup was the Women's Crown Jewel Championship. WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton taking on WWE Women's World Champion Stephanie Vaquer. This was a good match. I did think it was a little bit maybe shorter. It was nothing super special. Felt like it was relatively botch-free from what I could tell. We had all the greatest hits. We had the Devil's Kiss, and we had all that going on. And to me, this was going to be a match specifically for Stephanie Vaquer to win. WWE loves Tiffany Stratton, but you can tell they love Stephanie Vaquer as well. And I think she needs to be positioned and booked as an upper echelon, top tier star in WWE. I think she has just as much potential as Rhea Ripley does. And I'm still eyeballing that match for WrestleMania. Stephanie Vaquer and Rhea Ripley for the championship. I think that could be fun. Now, Tiffany, basically going to fast forward right to the finish here. Tiffany gets Stephanie down. She goes up for the prettiest moonsault and misses, allowing Stephanie to go up and hit her corkscrew splash thing, which I don't even think has a name. And she landed right on Tiffany. Not the best landing, but it looked good because she just landed right on top of Tiffany. Mostly like her, not right on her chest, but more a little bit lower. And it had to knock the wind out of poor Tiffany. My God, ouch. And of course, that was enough to put Tiffany down. Stephanie pins her and wins the big, ugly, gaudy, disgusting-looking Crown Jewel Championship belt, and she gets the ring, which is also nice. And again, those championships mean nothing. Triple H comes out to the ring to congratulate. You just want a prop. You know, these belts are even more props than the prop belts you already have. You know, it's just meaningless. You know, it's not like the Owen in AEW. I feel like those belts have some meaning. The Crown Jewel Championships, I feel like, were developed for Saudi Arabia to give them the illusion that there's something special going on over here. And I thought those belts were going to be exclusive to Saudi Arabia. Sounds like they're exclusive to Crown Jewel. And Crown Jewel is now not going to be in Saudi Arabia every time anymore, because Saudi Arabia is now getting real pay-per-views. They're getting Elimination Chambers. They're getting Royal Rumbles. They're getting WrestleManias. They're getting all, or maybe they haven't gotten a chamber yet, but they're getting a Rumble, they're getting a Mania, and they've gotten something else, right? They're going to get a SummerSlam. They're going to get everything else. So you don't necessarily need to put Crown Jewels there anymore, which means I'd change the name of the damn pay-per-view. I just dumped the whole Crown Jewel concept to begin with. I've never liked it, and the Crown Jewel Championships are dumb. Call it something else. But now they've created them, and now I feel like they're here to stay. And every year we're going to be crowning Crown Jewel Championships. In one pay-per-view per year, we're going to get champion versus champion. I don't hate that, because there were plenty of years where I did enjoy that for Survivor Series. I feel like they booked themselves into a corner sometimes with that shit, with the brand supremacy crap. You know, so now, you know, not having this at one of the big four, just doing this once a year at Crown Jewel, no big deal. That's much more easy. It's much easier to manage that, I feel like, when it's on a Crown Jewel rather than a Survivor Series. So Stephanie Vaquer wins this year's Women's Crown Jewel Championship, and she joins who? Liv Morgan, right? As the first two women to win those championships. I mean, at some point, if this goes on for anywhere from 5 to 10 years, I'd do some big battle royal with all the former winners, you know, or some sort of super match like that. Might be fun to crown your super Crown Jewel champion. I don't know. But congrats to Stephanie. Right gal won there. We then cut backstage. This was kind of cool. It was Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman. And Heyman is congratulating Bronson Reed on a monumental career-defining victory against Roman Reigns in the opener. And then Heyman says that later on when Rollins faces Cody, that no matter what happens, if Rollins is on the top rope waving with all of his might for you guys to come down and help him, you don't go anywhere. You stay right here. He has to do this on his own. And he leaves, and Breaker says, well, what if Cody wins then? He says that to Breaker. Or I'm sorry, he says that to Bronson. And then Heyman shows back up and says, you both know the answer to that question. So what's he saying here, you know, is I feel like he's got Brock Lesnar as your, in case of emergency, break open glass leader of the vision. You know, like it basically is, if what Heyman was saying here is that if Cody beats Rollins, then Rollins is going to be out as the leader of the vision, and he's bringing Brock in to handle business. That might be what he means, but you know, Brock Lesnar has never beat Cody Rhodes either, just like Seth Rollins hadn't up until tonight. So that was kind of cryptic. It kind of makes you wonder about what's going to happen down the road when the wheels come off in this fashion and how they're going to come off. Like my assumption was eventually Braun Breaker is just going to get too big and too dominant to sit there and be a lackey. And he's going to want to break out. But it's a little bit too early to do that yet. So they're going to keep telling the story with Seth, and maybe there's going to be more instances of confidence waning within the faction. But Rollins got himself a big win tonight, so he's at least safe for the moment. But it does sound like Heyman doesn't have full confidence in Rollins, because he's insisting that Rollins does it on his own. And it's not like he was out there or backstage with Breaker and Reed saying, when Rollins wins tonight, he said, if he wins tonight. So he knows that Cody could very well beat him. And he's got a plan in place in case Seth Rollins does not turn out to be the leader that he thought he was going to be. So we'll see where that leads down the road. And probably one of my favorite matches of the year. This was so good. My God, did it live up to the hype and then some. John Cena versus AJ Styles. One more time here in their rivalry. This was all set up with no TV build because John Cena hasn't been on TV since his victory over Logan Paul, I guess. So everything that he is going to be doing at Crown Jewel was going to have to be built or booked off of television. So we got the match just kind of made between Cena and AJ, and this was going to be the exact type of match that we want from John Cena in his retirement run here. I wish we had all year to enjoy these type of matches, but I feel like we've only got the very end of the year to enjoy these matches. And John Cena versus AJ Styles absolutely delivered. What a great match. What a heartwarming match watching two absolute icons like this, because even the announcers acknowledged that AJ Styles will be retiring in 2026. So, he's got a little bit more time left than John Cena, but not much. I mean, AJ Styles is winding it down as well. He's also going to be wrapping it up. So it was very special, not just for Cena, but for AJ Styles. So AJ is out first, and he's out in, at least I think he's out first. Yeah, he's out first. And he's out in some throwback gear. He's got his shorts on, and his vest came out wearing what he would have wore in TNA. Only difference is now he's 48 years old like I am, and he's got long hair. But he came out in some classic AJ Styles stuff. I like that. John Cena had some special-made yellow Australian T-shirt for the fans there that he wore to the ring, and he's got like a kangaroo on it and shit. And in one of the most heartwarming things I've ever seen, you have Alicia Taylor in the ring. She's making the introductions here as if this is a championship match, and she announces John Cena first as the greatest of all time and goes through that whole spiel. And then John Cena reaches in his pocket and he pulls out a handwritten note to give to Alicia, and John Cena hand wrote AJ Styles' introduction. It's things like that make me happy that after over 40 years of watching wrestling and me seeing everything, every type of match, every type of emotional situation, countless amounts of retirements, you'd think that I'd become emotionally numb to it by now. And I feel that way sometimes. I'm like, what is really going to get me in my feels these days? I've been watching wrestling for 4 decades. I've seen it all through every era, different eras, highs and lows, good and bad, boom periods and lulls and all that stuff, retirements and deaths and pregnancies and all sorts of different levels of emotion. And the fact that something like this can still get me just a little bit choked up is really reassuring to me as a wrestling fan, that I still love watching this stuff, because that was so great. All sorts of cool little Easter eggs in the intro, or not even Easter eggs, but little acknowledgments of AJ Styles. The intro said that he is the epitome of total nonstop action. He's the ace and the leader of the Bullet Club, who's looking to beat up John Cena one final time, and he calls him the face that runs the place. So Alicia had a really nice intro there that Cena had written for AJ. You can tell that these guys respect each other about as much as two wrestlers could ever possibly respect one another. I mean, they really, really adore each other, and I've always liked their friendship and the rivalry because of how polar opposite they are. Back in the, sniveling little anger boy days of everybody being so butthurt about John Cena, it was he can't wrestle and AJ's the best in the world, and there's no comparison between the two of them. And I think a lot of fans were just assuming that AJ Styles would hate someone like John Cena, and that couldn't be further from the case. They had their very first match in WWE, which was great. Every match they've had in the company was tremendous. Even at the end there in 2017, when John Cena won the title back from AJ, it was like the fans weren't even freaking out. because AJ had beat John Cena twice prior to that, and then John Cena got the win back by winning the title. I think he beat him one other time, evening the series at 2 wins apiece, and then closes out strong with, 3 final victories? Is that how it went? AJ won the first 2, Cena won the final 3, but all their matches were great, and the rivalry was fun, and their dynamic was fun because of how different they are. And how different they were. AJ had that respect of, the internet smarky type of fan, where John Cena was more of the household name, the Fruity Pebbles, the Barney, the Hogan of his era, right? This would have been like, in the 80s, this would have been I wouldn't say Hogan and Flair, but, maybe a Hogan and Brett or something like that, that type of dynamic. And I've always just enjoyed the respect that the two of them have for each other and the matches they've had. And this one was so damn good. And I think my favorite part of this match was not just John Cena, but AJ Styles as well. Both of them going out of their way to tribute some of their greatest rivals. We had tributes from AJ Styles for Samoa Joe. He put John Cena in the Coquina Clutch. Also Kazarian, because I think Kazarian uses the dead eye. So I think he hit Cena with like a dead eye. And I don't know what he tried. I think Christopher Daniels as well. AJ tributed Joe, Kaz, and Christopher Daniels. John Cena showed love to Chris Jericho with the Walls of Jericho, to Rusev, which is really cool. Hit a skull-crushing finale on AJ to tribute The Miz. He hit a vintage DDT, Randy Orton style, even went for a punt before AJ got out of the way. John Cena also hit a tombstone pile driver, and I think AJ might have hit a super kick. Did AJ tribute Shawn, or did Cena tribute Shawn? One of them did a super kick, and I think we also had Sting. So Samoa Joe, by my count anyway, Samoa Joe, Kaz, Christopher Daniels, Rusev, Jericho, Miz, Randy Orton, Undertaker, Shawn, Sting, and the best one, Bray Wyatt. AJ comes off the top. Cena catches him into Sister Abigail position, complete with the kiss on the forehead, and hits the Sister Abigail. And the whoa from the crowd. It wasn't just like a cheer. It was like, oh, whoa. Like they knew it immediately. And the fact that he even kissed him before he hit it, oh my God, so tremendous. And then after he hit it, all the fans pulled out their fireflies. And you could see Cena looking around going, oh shit, that is what wrestling is all about. Man, that was so good. That's where it gets you right here, because we all miss Bray Wyatt. He's been dead for over 2 years now, died at, in his 30s. Of a heart condition, and the fans are still struggling to cope with that. So's WWE, because they've got his brother and, his name and likeness and theme music all over the show still. So Cena, who had a very interesting rivalry as well with Bray Wyatt that spanned a couple of WrestleManias, the one at WrestleMania 30, which fans absolutely hated with every fiber of their being, and then the one at WrestleMania 36, 6 years later, in the Performance Center during COVID when they did the Firefly Funhouse match, which was just all sorts of fun. And Undertaker and Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, all those guys being tributed in this match was great. Fucking loved it. So anyway, the finish, after these guys have worked a tremendous match, I mentioned in the predictions that I was worried, from a physical standpoint, that maybe these guys are running the risk of tarnishing the legacy that their matches have. But I have to remember, when you're dealing with pros, you're dealing with pros. And John Cena, for all the fans that screamed that he can't wrestle, he was nominated for Match of the Year every single year he was in the business. Every single year he was in the business, especially when he was on top, he was having pay-per-view matches that were memorable. Nobody thought he could wrestle in 2007, but I think that Royal Rumble match against Umaga was fucking tremendous. I think that WrestleMania main event against Shawn Michaels was tremendous. He did a lot of things during some of the years that fans thought he was at his worst. So here, John Cena and AJ, I think there was an obligation for both guys to give the other the best possible match they can. And just an unbelievable amount of mutual respect in that match, which I loved. And in the end, it was a tombstone to AJ Styles that John Cena immediately rolled into his AA after AJ had kicked out of a couple of AAs, right? And then after the tombstone, it was the attitude adjustment, the final one for the win, pins AJ Styles. In the picture, it looks like John Cena is saluting the winner, AJ Styles, but it was actually John Cena who got the win in this match, tombstoning AJ, hitting him with the AA, and getting the win. And the two shared a really nice hug and show of respect in the ring. AJ was pretty quick to get out of there to allow John Cena to have his moment. And, you know, as a fan, I just want to extend my appreciation to AJ for going out there and having that match, you know. I just hope, I really hope that we can do that for him, you know, when it's his time to leave next year, that he has an equally memorable of a send-off. I personally think it should be Gunther. I think Gunther should retire Goldberg, Cena, and AJ Styles. And whoever his final match turns out to be, whether it's going to be a Gunther and they're going to use that as a Gunther retirement little shtick, or if they're going to allow AJ to maybe handpick his final guy, you know, that could be anybody, especially if that person is in TNA. They could bring him in. I would love for AJ to have one match in TNA. I would love that, but that might be wishful thinking. But, you know, AJ giving Cena that match tonight, I hope that when it's time for AJ to wind it down and he's down to his last 2 or 3 matches, that people are giving him the same thing, because he absolutely has earned that. My God, such a good match. And, you know, it's one of those matches where you had no build. It was just basically announced. It was given to you. Where's the story? You don't need one. You don't need one. The story's already told with these guys. They've got a long rivalry, you know, that didn't kick off until, 2016? You know, it took so long for these guys to finally find themselves in the same promotion and be able to have matches and championship matches, and they had great ones. They all lived up, and just a great rivalry. When I think back to John Cena's WWE rivalries, you know, AJ is going to be right near the top of that list just because of, you know, how different they were. AJ was the top star basically outside of WWE. He was considered the best wrestler not in WWE. And it took him so long to get to WWE that a lot of fans thought he would never make it there. I even thought in 2016 that AJ might be a little bit too old. You know, he's not in his best years, but AJ is a lot like Shawn. Age doesn't matter. He can still wrestle at an unbelievably elite level, and no matter what age he is. And this match was living proof of that. And watching AJ and Cena in there, it's like, even though I know this isn't going to happen, you know, there's like a slight part of me that's just kind of holding out hope that maybe after Saturday night's main event, John Cena was like, you know what? I've had so much fun the past 3 or 4 months with these retirement matches, and I feel bad that, you know, I didn't deliver the retirement run I wanted to when I was a heel. I'd like to extend my retirement into WrestleMania. We're going to retire at WrestleMania now. I'm going to give you fans back a couple of more months that you missed. But that's not going to happen. He's going to be done for real at Saturday night's main event in Washington, D.C., which I'd rather be anywhere but there. But that's going to be it for him. But watching him wrestle tonight, watching him just still be able to go, you know, it's going to be sad to see Cena leave, you know, in December. So absolutely tremendous match, just wonderful, really, really heartwarming type of match to where you loved it. You just loved it all from start to end, from entrances to introductions to bell ringing, you know, to the final pin. Everything that was in between there was phenomenal. No pun intended. Great stuff. John Cena and AJ Styles, I salute you as true pros. My God. Proud wrestling fan today. Greg. I don't really care for AJ Styles outside of the ring, the gay community, and there's just things out there about the flat earth. I don't care about any of that. He's a tremendous professional wrestler, and he's given us, you know, 25 plus, 25 year plus career of just amazing memories, and so has John Cena. So you don't get any more professional than those two. Like, they are the absolute walking epitome of professional wrestlers, AJ and Cena. Vastly different professional wrestlers, but two that mesh together, you know, perfectly. They fit like peanut butter and fucking jelly, like lamb and tuna fish. Man, so good. Anyway, after that, we had the tag team match. Of course, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. They're going to be taking on the Kabooks, and Asuka is all up Kairi's ass as usual. I saw a little bit of the pre-show or something going on this morning where Asuka's screaming at the crowd and whatnot. So Kairi is still torn, here and being basically bullied and controlled by Asuka, and we still don't understand why that is. So why Kairi is allowing it to be that way. But this was a match that I wasn't going to be studying that hard because it was predictable. You knew who was going to win. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky are totally going to pick up this win. Rhea Ripley's in her home country, by the way, plus everything that the Kabukis have been doing with the mist and everything with Kairi and the attacks on Io, the attacks on Ripley. This was their match to win. Kairi, still showing loyalty to Asuka. Asuka is on the apron. Ripley's coming in with a big boot. Kairi shoves Asuka out of the way and eats the big boot. And then she winds up getting riptided by Rhea Ripley and then Io Sky with the over the moonsault for the win. And Ripley and Io Sky celebrate in Australia, and at some point, we're going to have to get that one-on-one match between them, and Ripley's going to have to get that monkey off her back at some point. But this was a pretty standard match here, just a tag, a way to get Rhea Ripley on the card, and it was a pretty good tag team match. I enjoyed it. Like I said, there wasn't really a stinker on this whole show. I think maybe the two women's matches would be the least interesting ones, I suppose, and they were both still good. I'm thrilled for Stephanie Vaquer. I love her. And Ripley and Io, of course. I adored every woman on this card tonight. It was a good sample of how strong and deep the women's division in WWE is across all brands. I mean, think about it. Stephanie Vaquer and Tiffany Stratton, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Asuka, Kairi Sane, some of the best in the world. And it's just a small little handful of the talent that they have there. Becky Lynch didn't even make the trip. Think of all the women that weren't there. Your Beckys and your Charlottes and everybody else. So nothing against the women. I just think the two matches were maybe the most underwhelming, or would be a good word, I suppose. They just there wasn't anything too special about them, but they were still good. And this one was predictable. Rhea Ripley, Io Sky. That is who should have won this match. And that leaves us with the main event, the men's Crown Jewel Championship. Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes. Now, we already saw earlier on Paul Heyman instructing Reed and Breakker, no matter what Rollins is doing, no matter how hard he's crying or what's going on, you do not go out there and help him no matter what. He absolutely has to win this on his own. And apparently, if he wasn't able to win this on his own, Heyman told Reed and Breakker that they know the answer to that. They know what's going to happen if Rollins cannot get this done. But Rollins did get it done. And this was a match that I was really looking forward to. Again, much like the women's match, I don't care about this gigantically ugly green belt. I don't give a shit. My God. The way Triple H is out there celebrating and pointing, look at this great belt you won. You didn't win shit. You won an ugly-ass fucking belt. Who cares? Means nothing. I don't like the championships. I don't like that particular trophy or that particular accolade in WWE. But luckily for this year, that was so much in the background. As a matter of fact, Cody Rhodes was in the background of this story, of this match, of this angle, because this is all about Seth. It's all about Seth. It's all about Cody being in Seth's head. It's all about Seth doubting himself. Cody beat me 3 times back in 2022. We had a brief friendship, but, Rollins has to know that he's better than Cody. He has to know that he can beat Cody. And so far, he's had a lot of doubts. He's even, the world champion, where Cody is the WWE champion. So even Rollins kind of has like the secondary title. And that's another reason why I felt like Rollins should win. WWE should do things that tries to establish the World Heavyweight Championship as just as important as the WWE title. And they did a little bit of that this year when Jey Uso chose that championship after winning the Rumble. After I said the winner of the Rumble is always going to pick the WWE title, the fact that they changed that up is good. And I also think that Roman Reigns is going to wind up holding that title too. I think Punk is going to take it from Seth, and then I think Roman is going to take it from Punk, and then I'd have Braun Breaker take it from Roman. That's the next 3 champions I would do if I was WWE. So Rollins, it was so much about him. Heyman with his ultimatums, you got to do it by yourself, instructing Reed and Breaker, hinting that actions would be taken if Rollins couldn't get this done. So you thought, maybe we could have a new member or something tonight, a new member of the Vision. But with Heyman and Rollins being so adamant about getting it done by himself, you kind of felt like you could rule that out. And Rollins is going to have to figure out a way to win this on his own. He can cheat if he wants, but he's not going to be able to get any help from his boys. So, Ryan Adams, good point. Thank you for the $2. I forgot to mention one other wrestler that they tried to tribute here, and that was Rey Mysterio for the 619, but I think everybody knew John Cena couldn't pull that off, so AJ wound up stopping the 619. I forgot about that. Thank you for the reminder, Ryan. But with Seth and Cody, I felt like not only was the stupid ugly green championship unimportant to this, Cody felt unimportant to this. It was so much about Rollins. Cody's promo on SmackDown last night bored me to tears. What the fuck are you talking about for 20 minutes? God, get to the point. So it was everything interesting about this match was coming from Seth's point of view. And I've maintained ever since Cody tore his titty off in the Hell in the Cell, I said the next time they wrestle, Seth has to win. I always assumed it would be like a WrestleMania main event for a championship. Cody champion, Seth coming in as the challenger, finally gets that win back, winning the title. He gets to win a championship to make up for the 3 losses that, he suffered to Cody. But they wound up doing it here instead. They were able to get it done because both guys are champions. So I liked it. I was like, you know what? I'm actually okay with this. Even though I don't care about the Crown Jewel title, I'm glad that we're getting this match done. And with Cody, it's not going to do anything to him to take a loss here. So I felt like everything was pointing to a Seth Rollins victory here. It was just a matter of how he was going to get it done. There were some insane spots in this match I should mention first before we go right to the finish. The craziest one, I think, I've never seen Seth Rollins do this. He hit a coast-to-coast flying headbutt on Cody. So Cody is kind of like up in the tree of woe. Or you know how you do the thing with, what wrestler does that? Is it Andrade? You're like hanging in the tree of woe, and then you're lifting yourself up, and then he comes down and stomps you. Who does that? Is it Andrade? Who does that stomp move from up there? I feel like Alberto Del Rio did it too. Anyway, that stomp type of thing. So Cody is like hanging upside down, and as he's trying to lift himself up, Rollins comes in from the other side and hits a coast-to-coast, a Van Terminator. Shane McMahon would do the same thing, but he'd come in with a drop kick. Rollins came in with a headbutt. Looked tremendous. That was great. We had at least one stomp kick out by Cody, and then we had a Spanish fly kick out. So you had a stomp and a Spanish fly, both of which were kicked out by Cody. And then another crazy spot, equally as impressive, I feel like, as the coast to coast, was a top rope crossroads from Cody to Seth. Top rope crossroads, which just looked amazing. Rollins sold it tremendously. That was a near fall. That was a 2 count as well. So both guys had survived a lot by this point, and I didn't see when it was put down. I guess Rollins must have worn it to the ring, but Rollins has with him the Rolex watch that Cody gave to him as a gift after WrestleMania 40 when he won the championship. And Rollins had the watch there at ringside, I guess, with him. It was in the corner, and he starts rolling over the corner, and he grabs the watch in his hand. And then we get a ref bump. The ref goes down. Rollins knocks out Cody with the watch, punches him right in the face with it. Then the ref comes to. Rollins hits a stomp from the second rope and pins Cody to win the Crown Jewel Championship. So it took the Rolex, and I liked that. That was just the right amount of cheating. I don't think Rollins, I mean, he could have, but I couldn't see Rollins winning this completely clean. What I thought was going to happen is once Heyman forbid Breakker and Reed from coming out there, I said, okay, we're probably going to see something like a ref bump where Cody has the match won, but there's no ref to count, and then Rollins is going to figure out a way to cheat and win. I thought it would be something like that. So this is okay. This is the equivalent of, MJF winning with a Dynamite diamond ring or something. Not that big of a deal. And I love a good metaphor. And that's using the watch, that was given to him by that very man as a gift, as a thank you for, being part of the reason why he's wearing the championship that he currently has around his waist, using that as a way to beat him, I thought was perfect. It was just the right amount of cheating for me. It gave Cody an out. Now Cody, if he wants to come out on Raw and tell Seth, yeah, you got it done, but you had to take a shortcut, he can do that if he wants. But it wasn't like Rollins was able to, orchestrate a ref bump and then have Breakker and Reed come out and Reed hits Cody with 17 tsunamis. And then when the referee wakes up, all Rollins has to do is pin him. I think that would have been a little bit too much. So this was a much better way for Rollins to win using his head a little bit and trying to outsmart Cody and being a little bit manipulative of, getting the ref down and then using the watch when he wasn't looking. That was an appropriate amount of cheating in my mind for Rollins to get it done here. And Rollins, like I said, did defeat Cody Rhodes, and he is now your 2025 Crown Jewel champion, as if it matters. He's got the ring now, and I don't know about these belts. I'm hoping, like last year, I was so hoping that Liv and Cody wouldn't be carrying these things around with them, and they weren't. We had heard, or at least I thought, that the belts were going to stay in Saudi Arabia because I think they have a WWE World or something over there. They were going to stay displayed over there, but sounds like those titles are not going to be Saudi exclusive. They're going to be Crown Jewel exclusive, and they're going to be busting them out once a year. Now, hopefully, Rollins might show up on Raw with this belt. I would not be surprised. Rollins is exactly the type of character that would wear this belt out on Monday night, but I'm hoping that Monday night will be it. If he does bring the belt to TV, I'm hoping that it's only Monday and we don't see it again after that. Just limit it to the ring. You don't need that big ugly thing out there, and then we'll just wait until next year. If any of you had to guess, what do you think the Crown Jewel Championships will be next year for the men? I'm thinking it could be Roman and Who's Cody going to eventually lose the title to? Who's going to take down Cody? Okay, I'm going to make a prediction. Next year's Crown Jewel Championship is going to be Roman and Brock. It's going to be World Heavyweight Champion Roman Reigns versus WWE Champion Brock Lesnar. I bet you that'll be the match next year. Because by then, Punk will have beat Seth Rollins, but then I think Roman will beat Punk. I think Roman will beat Punk at like SummerSlam or something for the title, and then he'll be champion going into whenever Crown Jewel is, probably after SummerSlam next year. Who knows what country it'll be in. It might be Roman and Brock. I think that's a good early possibility, Roman and Brock. I don't want to see that anymore. I want that chapter closed. I don't want Brock Lesnar coming back and getting a win over Roman Reigns. I don't want that. I think Roman finally put down Brock, and it should be that way to stay. So if Roman and Brock do have a Crown Jewel Championship match next year, I hope it's Roman that wins. Yo, Thomas Iridia, thank you for the 5. Hey, Greg, me and my buddies actually got some Dutch Bros coffee and watched this show live at 5 a.m. It was quite the trip. Great pay-per-view overall. Holy crap. Well, that's fun, Tomas. I thought about getting up and watch. I mean, I stay up late anyway. I was still awake when the pre-show started, but I went to bed, and slept in until after the show was off the air. I think I woke up about 9, and so I was like, well, the show's over. So I pulled up my phone, scrolled through Twitter, got the results because I don't care about being spoiled at all. So saw the results. I'm like, okay, it's actually exactly what I thought. Went back to sleep for another hour, got up, and then watched the show. So that was my morning. But that's awesome, Tomas. And you got 5 more. That says the Crown Jewel Championships are so ugly. The title on Vaquer's shoulder was gigantic and around Rollins' waist almost covered his entire torso. That's why I don't want these things on TV all the time. Just keep them on the back burner, give them the ring, and just let them wear the ring because there's no reason for those belts to be out. Yes, I did see the news today that Diane Keaton passed away. She was 79, I think. Blair Hathaway. You went to a Q&A for Brutus the Barber Beefcake today. It was very interesting. Were there any interesting questions? That's kind of cool. That's cool. Yeah, Zach, I don't think that's a spiral tap. Didn't AJ say that's not a spiral tap? He quote tweeted when she did that a couple weeks ago. He tweeted and said it was great, but it was not a spiral tap. And even tonight, Barrett said that she still needs a name for it. So I don't think what she hit was a spiral tap. I think it was close, but I'm not sure if it was exactly a spiral tap. Oh, yeah, that's right. Thank you for that. I forgot about the fucking Dodgers. That's right. Yeah, it's Brewers and Cubs tonight. That's the elimination game. Winner goes on to face the Dodgers. So it's Dodgers and the winner of Milwaukee and Chicago, and then it's Toronto and Seattle, right? Dodgers. They're going to fucking win again, aren't they? You'd think I'd root for the Dodgers. You know, LA's just right up the road, but I don't. I don't like them. I don't like their fans either. I'm more of a Padre guy. Right on. Okay, well, guys, I got to get out of here and head to work now. Once again, I do want to Zane G's got Braun Breaker winning the Crown Jewel title next year, but in order to do that, though, he's got to be champion, and I don't know if that's enough time. You know, you got to get, I think you have to have a CM Punk and a Roman Reigns title run first before you get to Breaker. I think they're the next two in line for that particular belt. So I've got Punk beating Rollins, maybe at WrestleMania. Then maybe Roman beats Punk at Money in the Bank in New Orleans or SummerSlam. One of those two, maybe Roman wins the belt. Maybe even Money in the Bank. Maybe you just do Punk and Roman at Money in the Bank and Roman wins there. It depends. Or not. Money in the Bank. I already mentioned Money in the Bank. Because that's going to be going head-to-head with All In weekend, right, next year. What other pay-per-view is there? What am I forgetting? I forget what the fuck they do in June. Anyway, you could book it quicker, but I think Money in the Bank or SummerSlam would be a good spot for Roman and Punk. Have Roman beat Punk, and then Roman will eventually lose to Braun Breaker, but I don't know if there will be enough time for that. Like if they do Crown Jewel at the same time of year, if they do Crown Jewel early October next year, I don't know if that's enough time. You know, you might be talking about the Saudi WrestleMania for Breaker to be launched. You know, next year Roman wins the title at, let's say, SummerSlam, and he carries it all the way into WrestleMania to lose to Braun Breaker. Could be something like that. I don't know. Could be Randy Orton versus Roman. We could try to do Randy Orton versus Brock again, get that one redone, this time maybe with an Orton victory. Corey Graves, in-ring return to get payback on Lesnar. That would be cool, too. I'd love to see Corey attack Brock. That would be sweet. Right on. Well, anyway. Night of Champions in June. Thank you for that, Zane. Yeah, cool. All right, guys. Well, unfortunately, I got to get out of here. And I do apologize for no watch-along tomorrow night, no classic watch-along. My plan, though, is to be up here Monday for a Raw review. But since Raw is taped, and it's going to be airing live at 5 a.m., it might be an afternoon type of Raw review. Well, no, I got stuff to do on Monday. We're going to be up here Monday for something. I have to be. I'm off. So, yeah, we'll come up here and discuss Monday Night Raw. God, maybe we can even do a watch-along or something. I'm not sure what we're going to do Monday night. Got to figure it out. But I want to be up here. I got to take Elizabeth to a doctor's appointment during the day, but that's my only plans. So I feel like Monday night we should come up here for maybe a review. But we'll come up, you know, after Raw goes off the air. But it's not gonna air live. Shit, that's right. So technically Monday, Raw is on Netflix, so you don't have to wait like you did SmackDown. Like if you have USA Network, if you have cable, even though SmackDown was in Perth and it aired at 5 in the morning, unless you had a VPN or whatever, you had to wait till local time to watch it, right? But Monday is different. Monday, it's just going to air on Netflix at 5 in the morning. So we can really come up here at any time and do a review of the show. So let me look at my schedule, figure out what we're going to do, and I'll come up here on Monday night and we'll at least talk about Raw, and I'll try to make an appearance up here since we're not going to be here for the watch-along tomorrow. But I am going to be at my sister's house watching the Lions and Chiefs, so do me a solid, root for the Lions tomorrow, because I don't want to be trolled by my family, and I want to go over there and watch them win. My sister thinks that they're going to beat the shit out of the Chiefs, but I don't trust Detroit teams. So that remains to be seen. Yeah, Victor, I was just thinking of that out loud. I could do a classic watch-along on Monday if we don't do a Raw review. That is true. We could do a classic watchy. So basically, here's what we're going to do. We're going to decide this right now. On Monday, I'm going to read the Raw spoilers, and I'm going to take a look at the show after it airs at 5 o'clock in the morning. If it's a banger of a show and we get surprises and all sorts of shit to talk about and it's worthy of a review, we'll review it. Maybe they've already set some plans in motion for Survivor Series. Maybe we get a bunch of wrestling news that drops that day, and there's a lot to talk about. If Raw is just a run-of-the-mill Raw, not very good, and it's a light news day with nothing else going on, then we'll come up here and do a classic watch-along. Yeah. Maybe we'll do that on Monday night. A classic watch-along on Monday night. Maybe we can do two. Maybe I can do a quick review and then a classic watch-along. I'm going to give it some thought. So I'm going to spend tonight and tomorrow figuring that out. In the meantime, just keep in mind that I'm going to be up here doing something on Monday. We're just not quite sure yet. And we'll be here then. So anyway, thanks again for being here this evening. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Enjoy your Sunday tomorrow. And once again, I apologize for not being up here for a watch-along, but I do like the idea of maybe busting one out on Monday. We will do that. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one, and I'll be catching you on Monday, I guess. Peace.